And 3. Oh, wait, we're already here.
Yeah, we're already here. There's no
Man,
countdown.
We need a producer.
It would be nice sometimes. I don't know what he would do really, or she, but it would be nice, I think.
What do you think would happen if we just sat here and did nothing until our first viewer popped on?
That would be very hard for me.
Oh, we have 2 already. Here we go.
We have viewers. Yeah. Yeah. They're here.
It didn't take them long to get in.
No. It never really does.
Good.
It never really does. Well, so is Crowley in school today?
Today, Crowley has a half day, and they are fiend.
All right. So the official start of summer happens at 12:01 today.
12:40.
Oh, 12:40. Okay.
Yes, for high school.
Yeah. We were out. Our half day was yesterday.
Yeah.
And done. So she's done. Those 2 were on the road heading up to pick up Grandpa.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Graduations this weekend.
Yep. Graduations this weekend. Grandpa will be in for the weekend. So they're heading up to get him. And since Dulcie's off on Monday, we'll take him back. So, because it's a trip for sure.
I have to take this real quick. Yes, it's the roof.
Okay, yeah. For those of you that may not know, the roofers were at our place. We have no problems with the roof, but dealing with insurance, they thought we had some problems when really we didn't, and so here we are. So one of those things that has to be taken care of in order to accommodate all of the things. But the insurance thought we had a problem with the roof, but we don't. It's just the divot marks where they connected all of the stuff to the roof itself. So he's off gallivanting with a phone to help them figure that out. But he left his energy drink, so he's not far away from us. So, today's topic centers around important conversations in our life, and I want you to think about that. He and I will get into this here in just a second, but want to think about some important conversations, and because of the shooting at Uvalde and happening, one of the stories that came out was a parent was at an awards thing for her child 2 hours prior to the shooting, and her child was one of the victims, and it brings to mind the important conversations in life. What are some? Have you had them? Are you thinking that you need to have a conversation with somebody, but you've hesitated from doing that? And I think it's important that we just have the conversations when we need to have those conversations. So he and I are going to talk a little bit about some important conversations that we've had across our life.
Right. Top 5 things I love about Aaron. That's what you wanted?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's it.
I thought that's what the text said.
That's right. You give your top 5, and then I'll give my top 5, and it can be the All Keith show next week.
Top 5 about you. That was our insurance agent.
That's what I was telling.
Great news from the underwriters.
So everybody's fine now.
Yes. Well, no, we still have to get a report from the roofer, but
it's going to be fine.
Right? Well, I mean, that's been when you get an email that says, "Hey, we're not going to cover your roof,"
and it's a brand new one,
and it's a brand new roof, like literally 3 years old.
Yeah.
It was going on when you got here.
Yeah. They finished it at the end of 18, so it's 3 and 3.5 years old. Brand new. It's brand new. From a roof perspective,
especially when you have a 20-year warranty on it.
Yes.
So,
yeah,
here we are. So top 5. I've been thinking about this a lot.
Well, that's why I send it to you ahead of time.
I know.
And just so that you know, I was prefacing them. Some of this comes from the fact from the Uvalde shooting of, did you have the important conversations? And do you have them? Now, at second grade, they may not have had a lot of those important ones. However, I think it's just a reminder. It's a sobering reminder that if you need to have an important conversation with somebody, don't wait.
Uvalde is a very small, tight-knit community.
Oh, yeah.
That's where Lex's dad is from. Uvalde. He grew up there.
Okay. Yeah, I saw Lex put something about, my family. I thought, okay, I don't know her history.
Her cousin was there.
Okay.
And he had surgery. He's recovering. But you know, it will never be a full recovery.
No, it won't. No, they'll
physically or mentally.
There'll be
especially
issues
mentally.
forever. But for the listening audience, I texted him and I said 5 most important or really important or whatever conversations outside of, because you know I don't allow Jesus answers outside of gospel
Peter
conversation.
Wright, Jesus.
Yeah, outside of gospel conversations, what have been some of the most important conversations that you had? One of mine, you know, one of my values is family first.
Okay.
You know, and family first is a value of mine. It's one of my core values. So a lot of these conversations stem out of family.
Mm-hmm.
So many church conversations stem around gospel.
Right.
That,
of course,
you know, so and in my family too, but the conversation that we had at IHOP on Alta Mesa in 1993, where Dulcie and I sat and had a conversation of, do we want to go from a friendship to a dating relationship, was long, and it was very, we're both analytical about things. And you know,
yeah, it's totally different from me and Joanna. We have Sherry Coolin, who was Levan at the time, to thank for our relationship.
Right.
She came to me one day inquiring and said, "Hey, Joanna likes you want to go out?" Sure, we can do that.
Yeah.
Literally, that's how it happened.
Well, and the thing is,
there was probably more to that on the other side, with the girls' side, you know. They
I'm sure.
back and forth.
I'm
talking.
sure.
I don't know what's going on that side.
Yeah,
it's not important.
You still don't know what's going on on that side.
No, why should I?
Because you raise boys.
Exactly.
I have a girl, so I understand some more things than you do.
But it's so weird because girls will come to me for advice. Boys will go to Joanna for advice in youth ministry.
Yeah. That doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? At least
maybe they want the guy's perspective. I don't know.
Well, I think that there's something inherently in humanity that seeks that out from the opposite sex, especially in a parent style.
Mama's boy, role. Daddy's girl.
Yeah, I think there's something there because,
so we were timeout. We just had this conversation yesterday about Angela was in here. He and I were sitting here talking about nothing. He was in that chair. I was in this chair. And we start talking about Thursday morning conversations or just conversations in general. She says, "I'm sorry I interrupted your conversation." And we were both like, we were just talking. We weren't really talking about anything. It's kind of like Thursday morning.
Yeah, it's kind of like Thursday morning. We talk a lot, but about not maybe a lot.
I don't know what. And we said, the comment was stated, I forget who said it. Sometimes we don't even know how we got there.
You said that.
And so here we are.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got here, but here we are.
Here we are.
But we talk about the conversations that we have with our kids, and yours are family values. Mine, I think the biggest conversation I had with my kids was, don't compound your mistakes.
Yeah.
If you make a mistake, don't lie about it to cover your mistake.
2 wrongs don't make a right.
Don't go around something else to try to make this lie a truth.
Right. Because it's not going to work.
Don't compound your mistakes.
Right.
And as they get older, when they go off to college, I would rather you call me than the cops call me.
Yeah.
And I think you guys can all infer what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
Call me. Will I be mad at you? Not at the moment.
Well, maybe a little at the
moment. But I will be. Yeah. Well, I don't even know if I'll be mad.
I will fix the situation and then we'll talk about it.
And then we'll talk about it.
No. Then we'll go for a drive.
We'll talk about this in the morning.
In the car, going somewhere.
Yeah, we're going somewhere. We will talk about this.
So what is one of yours? I gave one of mine. What's one of yours?
Well, that's one.
Okay. Then another one of mine would be, because I've been thinking a little bit, I've had a lot of conversations with my kids, but I'm trying to think about important quasi life adjusting conversations for me. Anyway.
Here's another one.
Okay.
Plan your escape. In any situation.
You have these statements.
In any situation, if you are at an event.
That's just a life skill.
Exactly.
It's
That's-
just a life skill.
Those are
I
my,
do that without thinking about it.
You do, but
Get the-
Dad, why do you do this? Dad,
Dad,
why do you do this?
Dad rule 143.
Dad, why do you never sit with your door back to the door? Why do you always have to sit on that side? Because I
Yeah,
have to see the door. Why do you have to see the door?
because I need
Because I have to protect you.
I need to see what's coming in.
I have to protect you.
Yeah.
Right. Always have an escape plan. And I don't care what it is. If you're going to a church picnic, if you're going to a church picnic and you know that you have to be somewhere at 2:15,
Plan your escape.
have an escape plan.
Yeah.
Right. You can slide out the back. You can make a big announcement. I don't care how you do it. Know what you're going to do.
Right.
Do what you're going to do and get where you got to get. Number 3, don't be late.
Okay, these are rules. These aren't conversations.
They are rules.
These are not
My
conversations.
conversations are based around rules. Don't be
Okay.
late. Why is it important to not be late?
What's respect?
It's a respect thing. It's a 100% respect thing. So the conversation is surrounded around respect. It's not just about you being late.
Yeah.
It's about you holding up everyone else
Right.
from doing what we're supposed to
Right.
be doing.
Time hijacking.
Yeah. Don't be a time thief.
Well, one of mine was in the spring of Samuel's 5th grade year when he was going through his extremely debilitating issues, semi-life-threatening issues. At the time, we didn't know what it was. And we had just received the news from the doctors at the time that said, we're out of options. We need to send you to a psychologist so you can learn to manage the pain for the rest of his life. And he had one of the things they had him do was to make a pain journal. And so every day he had to journal scale of 1 to 10, why, how, so he had to journal the pain. And they had him on some medications that were not doing well. And there was one day where he had just broken down, and he's 5th grade.
Right.
And he had written in his journal, and he showed it to me. He'd written in his journal that if I have to live with this, just take me now, God. I would rather die than live with this. And so we had to have a conversation about that.
Yeah.
And that was not an easy one. Then, wasn't long after that we discovered what it was. He got through it. He healed. And he pulled his journal off his shelf one day and he said, "Do I have to keep this?" And
you don't have to do anything you don't want to do.
And I said, no, his mom wanted us. His mom wished I hadn't have gotten rid of it just for a reflection back at some point. But in the moment, we got rid of it for him to have the.
I don't think you forget moments like that.
No, I know, but mom's a keeper.
Aren't they all? Aren't they all? Like, we have tubs. Like each child has a tub.
Yeah. Yep.
And
so that for me, that's one of the most important conversations I've had, is helping him understand God in those moments and how to relate with God in those moments. And if he could trust God,
we just talked about trusting God in youth.
Yeah.
And one of the guys came up to me afterwards and he said, "How do I know when I've made the right decision?"
Right.
Because we went through Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, which is
I have a whole triangle that I can help them with.
My core verses, right?
Yeah.
And I just gave him examples of when I had prayed about a situation and God had revealed himself.
Yeah.
And God doesn't always reveal himself through the Bible specifically.
Right.
God reveal himself
however he wants to,
through Master Chief Aviation Ordnanceman sitting at the goat locker on a Thursday afternoon.
Right. Right.
When he says, "You know what? I think the best thing for you is to retire."
Yeah.
When he told me that, I never expected those words to come out of his mouth.
Right.
I expect him to say, "You know what? You got to do what the big Navy tells you to do. You got to, get on board, and you got to do this. You got to do that." No, he said, "You know what?
Maybe this is right for you."
I think it'd be best if you just retired. Thanks,
Confirmation.
Thanks, Master Chief.
Confirmation.
He's a believer.
But but you have to look for the confirmation to be able to see it. You have to keep
You have to be
yourself
searching for
you
an
have
answer.
to be, yeah. Well, I mean, ask, seek, knock.
Yeah.
And those are participles on purpose.
I use Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, and I look at Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 as an if-then scenario. If you trust the Lord,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
If you acknowledge Him,
Right. You went off into grammar and you forgot yourself.
I did. And if you don't trust your own understanding,
yeah.
If you do those three things,
yeah,
then He will make your path straight.
Right. But it's a qualifying situation.
I think it is. And we can take it at face value, but that's the way I look at it. And that's the way I try to approach things. I need to do this. I need to do this. I can't expect God to do His part if I don't do my part.
Right. And the problem that we have in our culture today is the abundance prosperity gospel mentality that see, you and I will take that to a point and recognize that we have personal responsibilities to do, but we will not go the next step that says, okay, if I do this, then God, you're beholden to me to act now.
Yeah, we're not on God. God's not on
right.
our time.
But that's what a lot of the abundant,
it is.
The name it, claim it preachers and the word of faith movement. That's what they do sometimes is they take it to the next step that I think goes beyond proper theology. I can do all the things I need to do.
Beyond. That's an awful light word.
They drag it into the hellfire of theological stances.
For Corey Hunzeker, which depth of hell is this?
That's right. Seventh level. Thank you. It's the last ding on the elevator.
Oh.
But so what's I guess you're going to be rule based. So what's your next rule?
Here's why am I rule based, Aaron?
Because you're in the Navy. You were in the
Navy. I was
in
the Navy for 22
years.
You have conversations based around rules.
I know. And I did not.
You have. Oh gosh. I'm not your friend. We've had to have the conversation. I'm not your best friend.
Not until you get older.
I'm not your friend going through school.
Right. I'm your dad, not your friend.
I will be every bit of support you can ever need.
Sure.
But we're not friends.
Right.
And you're not going to talk to me like I'm a friend. You're not going to act any certain way like you do around your friends. You're not going to.
Right. Things are different at the house.
Things are different. And maybe they shouldn't be. We've also had that conversation. Don't be different here.
Well, yeah.
Than what you are.
Right. But the rules we have here are family rules. Your friend rules out in the world. That's what I mean by it's different here.
Yeah. You're not gonna call me a fool.
Right. Well, Jesus has some words about that.
I know. And the kids just don't get it. They throw that word around like it's
a
piece of candy.
It's a different language.
But are they using the word fool in the way,
Right. And I think intent is important.
Has it lost its, and that's, gosh, we could go off on a tangent here about the strength of words.
Absolutely. Because there's some words that float around quite often amongst the young people. I sound old saying that.
The youngins.
But
the whippersnappers.
They use words that we would never have used,
ever dream of using around an adult,
but they use them. And I have had the same consideration, and this is where generational lines are drawn heavily. And I hear how they use it, and it's adverbial, but it's not necessarily used in a vulgar way. It's adverbial. It's just an adjectival, adverbial concept. And grammatically, they're not using it most of the time in any other way. But the problem that I think we face with that is there are times they do use it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we get into, you have to get into context, and you have to get into, okay, what's their facial expressions when they're using those words? Because, They can say F this and F that and F whatever, and they're laughing while they're saying it because it's lost all its meaning to them. But they can
Yeah.
also say it in a way that has full meaning behind it.
Right.
And I think that's where you have to have the context. Now, we can obviously get off into a tangent. Should they be using that language at all? But I mean, Christians cuss all the time. They just don't do it in a way that's
Christian cuss word.
Dead gummit. Because again, it's all about intent.
It is about intent. Smack your thumb with a hammer.
You know, there's.
Although I have caught myself. I don't cuss. I just don't. I actually stopped cussing when I was in the Navy. Gosh, I was in New Orleans. I can remember when it was.
Right.
Probably 96, 97. Anyway. I've been in a situation.
Sure.
Slam my thumb in a car
Yep.
door. I just said the words cuss word.
Yeah. Just cuss word.
Cuss word. I don't know. It made me
Does
feel
that
better.
does that exonerate
It
you?
made me feel better. It probably still wasn't good. I didn't use the word,
Right.
but
But
the
what was the
intent of
intent
the
there?
heart was to use the word.
and again, as we walk through Matthew chapter 5, Jesus will consistently deal with the intent of the heart, not the actual literal action of the body. It's always about the intent of the heart. And so I don't know. This is the struggle because again, generationally, there are hard lines.
Oh, yes.
And I think situationally there are hard lines because I know a lot of old people out of church that cuss all the time, and I know old people in church that's a hard
Right,
line.
hard
That's how I
fence.
show my Christianity is I don't cuss, and I'm like, well, that's a way to do that. There are some others that we could add, but
I'm gonna just go look at the comments. We have a lot of comments today.
that's a hard line.
That's a hard line.
I hear an echo.
Uh,
Yeah, we're having lots of comments today, but I had asked them
hey,
maybe
Elizabeth.
to share their conversations. So, I had another one that I had a little more recent. What?
My niece says, not being late becomes harder when you have a baby. It does.
Yes.
No, we had those.
Absolutely, it does.
Are these crucial cases? Are these crucial conversations?
Who-
Absolutely.
Who asked this?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes, they are crucial
I-
conversations. Conversations that you have to have.
in a family.
No,
No, mine were more event based. I mean, yeah, I've had some important conversations. I've had the sex conversations.
right.
I've had this is not what we need to be doing conversations. I had a conversation with my son last year along the lines of decision making and discernment.
Mhm.
He was struggling
Oh,
with his major, and I think because he is a rigid rule kind of guy,
that's
which Samuel,
yeah.
he had already put himself into this major, and he needed someone to give him permission to get out of it. In my opinion, he needed somebody to give him permission.
I agree with you 100%.
To get out of it because he was not. He was just going to suffer through.
We had similar discussions with our college freshmen last year. Yours was, I want to change my major. Mine was, I want to change my career field.
Well, in essence, that's what he was
Yeah,
doing too.
yes. I mean, exactly. I want to, I
Yeah.
want to change what I'm doing in life. Carter college was not Carter's thing.
Yeah.
Carter went to tech school, and Carter is absolutely flourishing.
Yes,
I mean,
he's doing great.
He's better than I've seen him in
Yes.
years
Yes.
because he's a hands-on guy. He
Right.
needs to be.
Yeah.
He's a blue-collar boy.
He is tactile.
Blue-collar boy.
And that's okay. I mean, where would we be in
Without
our world
yeah.
without the blue collar? And frankly, where would we be without the rednecks and brown collars too?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
you got to have those because you got to have your field worker.
Yeah.
If you don't have your field worker, where are we going to be?
Hungry.
Hungry. And as long as diesel prices stay what they are, we might get more hungry. but
They're gonna learn how to make diesel out of corn.
they're gonna have to. Well, they know how. They know how to make biodiesel, but
Then you got to figure out how to make it cheaper.
well, that's a whole nother conversation.
Is that a sipper?
Yeah, it might be a sipper moment right there. But yeah, we had the same conversation. I've had the same conversation with my daughter coming out of her junior through and in and through her junior year when she wanted to redirect her career path. And you know, it's as a parent, you maybe unintentionally, even if you try not to, you have in your mind thoughts and visions and dreams and expectations of what your child will do. 99% of the time, it will be that they would flourish and succeed far greater than we ever did.
That's the only hope for me.
You know, but I think there are moments where we might look at the track record of a child and say, okay, boy, I could really see you doing this. And we may speak that over and into the life of our child, and they adopt that. And so for there to be a 90-degree turn off of that, it can be a little shaky,
right?
Getting through that of trying to decide, okay, this has to be their dream, not my dream. And then we as parents have to step back and reevaluate. What is my dream? Is my dream that they become ... or is my dream that they be a successful human being that follows Jesus to the greatest degree? Now,
and happy doing it.
And you know, are they going to be happy doing that? And that's kind of the conversation in your head, or with Joanna, or with number 3 that you had.
Yeah.
Figuring that out. Yeah. It's like, okay, if you're not going to be happy doing this, what are you going to be happy doing? Now, life isn't all about being happy.
Right.
But spiritually, there's a joy there, and that I think you find that we play out in happiness. That if you can't be satisfied in the career that you're in, maybe that's not the career God wired you for. And if you consistently find yourself in difficult spaces, difficult moments, hating what you're doing, or at least hating the surroundings that you're in, maybe either you're not where you're supposed to be vocationally,
right?
Or maybe the location that you're in is not where you need to be. God has a different place for you. Over the course of my life, that's how God's dealt with me. Whenever there's changes coming, there just is a growing feeling of unrest.
Right.
And again, it's not that things are good or bad. It's just there's an internal non-peace about the situation.
Right.
I've been in situations where things were going wonderful, and God still, I just had that feeling of, hey, we're not long.
It won't be long now.
Not going to be long. And then there's times that things are going awfully, and God said, I told you, you should have been ready for this. You know, and it happens. You get satisfied. You get happy where you are. This happened in our second church. That, you know, we bought our first house. They didn't have a parsonage. We bought our first house as a married couple. We had both of our children at that hospital, and then, you know, raising them in that house. Right. My father-in-law comes to me and says, if you don't start looking, you'll get stuck in the panhandle. And that was his words. And he had dreams, he had thoughts, you know, I'd love to get you someplace, blah, blah, blah. And, and I'm like, but I'm happy here.
I like it here.
These
are my people.
Yeah. And, you know, but, you know, things happen, and as they do. And sometimes God has to, you know, crack you upside the head because you weren't paying attention. There were signs when I look back that God was trying to get my attention with some things, and I wasn't paying attention because I was too satisfied.
Right.
Sometimes we can get too satisfied with the status quo, and we like it that way, that we miss what God wants to do. And that's important for all organizations.
That's anything in life.
Well, it is. And that's true. And this is another conversation that I try to have with my kids sometimes. And sometimes they're repetitive conversations. Sure. Okay.
The reminders.
You know, I sat at the pancake shop on Hewlin across from my son, and I said, I'm not going to tell you what to do.
Mhm.
You're at the time you were 19, pushing, going to be 20. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but here's what I will tell you. If you can tell me that you have prayed about it and sought the Lord on it, and you feel God has opened the door for you to change, I am your 142% supporter.
Yeah.
But if you can't, then let's have another
That's what we
conversation.
thought. Well, you need to come. You need to talk.
Yeah.
Have you done these 3 things?
Exactly.
Have you done these 3 things?
Yeah, exactly.
And if you haven't done your part,
right,
again, why do we expect God to do his part?
right.
Why do we put an expectation on God that we're not willing to take
by
on
the grace
ourselves?
of God, he does things for us that when we didn't deserve them. But quite often,
Well,
but quite often, and I find this in post salvation, in when you get into your discipleship stage, you know, I think that's the things start happening in. It isn't transactional. It's not, okay, I did this, so you have to
Right.
do that. But it is transformational in the sense that as I'm doing this, I'm becoming more and more what I need to be and where I need to be. And therefore, I'm able to hear things in more detail than I used to. And so I think from that standpoint, the if then
Mhm.
comes into play in Proverbs. You know, I'm doing my part. And it doesn't mean God has to do anything.
Yeah.
But he's revealed in his word to us that when I do my part, I become more open and available to get a sense and a direction and an understanding of what God has for me.
And when you are having these conversations with God,
Yeah,
your heart is more open to suggestion.
because I've done the things I need to do.
Yes.
But when I'm not doing that, I've closed my heart, I've closed my mind, I've closed my spirit, and that's called quenching the spirit.
Mhm.
And so Paul, when he talks about the New Testament, don't quench the spirit, I think we can make a connection back to the proverbial thing and the Deuteronomic blessing idea of you have to do
Say
your
that
part,
again.
Deuteronomic. You have
You
to
just made that word up.
you have to do your part. And don't expect from God anything you're not willing to do for God.
Yeah.
You know, you have to do your part.
And
that's that you find that in
So,
the Deuteronomy.
again, we've talked about my favorite Bible passage, my favorite Bible verse.
Well, your favorite book, however, is James.
That's right. And okay, what is
Yeah, exactly,
What
because
is-
he's so practical.
what does James talk about?
He's so
Sorry,
practical.
I did that. I got excited. when you said something about James. What does James talk about doing?
Doing. Don't just talk about it.
He
Don't
talks
talk about
about
it. Doing. Yeah. Don't tell me you have faith. Show me you have faith.
You do this? Great. Show me. I'm from Missouri. I'm a Missouri
You're
boy.
from Missouri.
I'm a tried and true Missouri boy. I will be that till I die.
Yeah.
Even though I'm coming up on living in Texas longer than I lived in Missouri.
Yeah, but you can't. But you lived in Missouri at the formative age, so you'll never get rid of that.
I'll never be a Rangers fan. I'll never be a Cowboys fan.
Well, neither are giving you a lot of reason to do so anyway.
Well, I mean,
sorry, Sean.
Sean's been a Rangers. Sean's not a Cowboys fan.
But she is a Rangers fan.
And all you other Cowboys fans, I don't understand you.
Yeah.
But my favorite Bible verse is John 3:17, where everyone focuses on 3:16,
right.
Yeah, God loved the world. But why did he love the world?
Let's not be so dismissive. Hang on. Let's have a conversation here. Let's not be so
Okay. God loved the world. He sent his only son so that we can have eternal life. Why?
Right.
Why?
Right.
He didn't send his son to the world to condemn the world.
No.
But to save the world.
Baptists need to learn that.
Jesus didn't walk the earth full of hate and anger and vitriol and discontent about you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. He spoke in love.
Yeah.
I think
if
this young man in Uvalde had experienced love and not whatever else he experienced, He was angry. He was hurt. He had issues. Who was there to love him?
Right.
Now, I'm not saying that his parents didn't love him. Don't hear me say that.
No, I know.
Don't hear me say that he wasn't loved. But did he have the love of Jesus?
Right. And this comes back to the Love Languages book.
Mhm.
And the theory behind the 5 love languages by Gary Chapman. Go read it if you haven't.
And find out what your love language is.
The theory behind that, because I think that philosophically our churches in Uvalde and churches in general would say, but we did love him. Okay.
Yes.
And I look at churches that 99% of churches are on a death spiral right now. And I think largely because we love people. Okay. I'll give them that. We love people, but if you loved people in the way they would receive that love, then they wouldn't be exiting our churches in droves. The great exodus from church is happening because we haven't learned how to love people in the way they need to see it and understand it.
Love them where they are, not where we want them
Well,
to be.
and that's the theory behind the 5 love languages, is that if you speak Japanese and I speak English and neither of us speak the other's language, I can keep telling you in English, I love you. But if you don't understand my language, then but when I take the time to learn how to say I love you in Japanese, that means something to that person.
You see a light.
Yeah, it means something. You know, when I go to Mexican food restaurants and I fumble through some Spanish with the waiter or waitress that obviously is not a native English speaker, my kids laugh at me for doing that. But my experiences in Mexico and my experiences in those areas have shown that they respect the try.
Right.
I mean, they may laugh at me in the kitchen, and they probably do.
They probably do.
But from my experience, they respect the try. And so I think we as churches and Christians need to try harder, because we can say, I love you. But if they're not feeling that and they're not understanding that, because this is the line of demarcation. Older than me is logic-based loved, and younger than me is emotional-based loved.
There was a song that came out in the late 80s. It's called More Than Words.
Oh, yes.
By
Warrant.
Was it Warrant?
Is it a sheriff or Warrant?
I forget who it was. If you couldn't say I love you.
No, it wasn't. It was a metal band. It was their ballad. Anyway, go ahead.
Yes, it was 2 guys.
Yeah.
It was, I forget who it was. Brian Levan and I used to just cruise through town. He had this.
Anyway, I got you off topic. Anyway.
More Than Words.
Yeah.
If you couldn't say I love you, how would you show it?
Right.
If you couldn't just say I love you.
Right.
Could you tell me that you love me?
Right. And that's what in a nutshell, that's what that shooter was looking for in his life. That's what our community is looking for. It's what every community is looking for, is show me the love, because we have stated it, but we haven't shown it. And I think most of our world is still looking for it, and they're tired of hearing it. They want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Extreme. Extreme. That's the name of the band.
Oh, okay. So somebody tell you that?
No, I just
looked it up. Extreme. I didn't remember Extreme.
Saying I love you is not the words I want to hear from you. It's not that I want you, it's not to say, but if you only knew how easy it would be to show me how you feel.
Now, there may be some 80s issues involved in that statement of what they mean by that, but
you can infer however you like. But
this was the 80s. I know what they were talking about.
Okay. Look, we're not going to make it vulgar, sir.
I'm just saying.
Let's take the words at face value.
There you go.
Let's take the words at face value and not infer anything else. It's not that I want you not to say the things, but I would rather you show me.
Exactly. And I think that is what is being cried out from so many people in every community and the churches that have figured out how to do that are the ones that are reaching their communities. And the ones that haven't figured out how to do that are experiencing the exodus. And everybody's leaving their church, and they're not reaching their community because they haven't figured out how to do that. That it is more than just stating it. You have to show that. and
Some,
and that
yeah, it's a culture shift. It's a,
well, it is. It's move away from your religion and move into a relationship, and that's key. But as long as we're tied up in how we used to do it, and this is the way we're supposed to do it, and we're not actually loving people, it doesn't make a hill of beans difference. Your church is still going to die. Not that God doesn't want it to live,
right.
but God's told us what to do. We just don't always do it. Personally, corporately, whatever.
Mhm.
We're facing that as a convention nationally.
Oh man,
Is that we didn't do it right. And so now we're facing the consequences of our actions nationally. And unfortunately, it's going to trickle down and affect us locally
it will.
because some people at national made very bad decisions and did some very poor things.
Again, don't compound your mistakes.
Right. Exactly. And they
That's-
did. They doubled down on it, and now they got caught. And
They should have talked to me.
I know they should have.
There's just some simple rules in life that if
Simple
you
rules.
follow.
That's right. You and Gibbs, you've got simple rules.
That's
life.
it, man. That's it. If you don't understand the reference, then I'm not sure you should be watching.
That's right. You don't know who Gibbs is. I don't know what to say to you. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Well, we have talked all the way around a bunch of stuff,
We sure have.
which is normal for us on a
Hey,
Thursday.
only 41 minutes. That's not bad.
That's almost a record.
That's
I think that's a record for
we're
us.
getting there. We're getting there.
And people stuck with us too.
They did. Appreciate you guys coming
Hey,
being here.
We'll see you guys. Have a great Memorial Day weekend.
Barbecue